Ready? Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God presides over all things in heaven and earth. Come and preside over these deliberations, so that those that make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, welcome to the work session, February 10th. The only thing on council's agenda is a resolution authorizing the disposition of records from the finance office as set forth in the municipal records manual. Any questions? Any questions?
Nope.
Mayor?
Nope.
Ready?
Yep.
First, is this on? The light's on. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I just have a few resolutions for tonight. First of all, authorizing the disposition of records from the finance office as set forth in the municipal records manual. Reappointing Leon Schuster to the zoning hearing board. Reappointing Frank Majakis to the police civil service board. Reappoint Phil Latinsky to the police civil service board. And appointing William Barrett to the police civil service commission. Folks, we are going to be hiring at least 8 new police officers, if not more,
Wow.
in the future. So it's imperative that we reappoint these gentlemen. Mr. Majakis and Mr. Latinsky did an outstanding job in the past on that commission, and I know that with your approval, so will Mr. Barrett. So it's important we get this approval, because we're going to be doing some healthy hiring in the police department. I made a pledge that when I became mayor, I would keep both police and fire departments fully staffed. And following through, we're going to be hiring at least 8 new officers.
Good.
Good, wonderful.
That's all I
Any
have.
questions?
Council presentation.
No?
Council.
Yeah. Council presentations? Councilman Barrett?
Charlie might remember the burned out the only thing I have, the burned out property of George Evans Scott seems to have been like nothing has happened. I know the guys were up there a few weeks ago and sent some photos of a bunch of trash on the south side of the property. And despite the fact that there's a dumpster on site, the trash still is there. Maybe we can just have them go back up or at least contact the owner. It doesn't seem like anybody's doing anything there except the stuff is still laying there, and it's very visible from Scott Street. It just, I don't think it'd take much for them to move it over to the other side and put it in the dumpster if they can. I think they sent them a notification, but
They did, yeah.
But nothing
I followed up when you asked, and
yeah, I think they need to just reach out to them again if they wouldn't mind. That'd be great.
sure.
And that's it.
Councilman Brooks?
I only have one thing. Thank you, Charlie, for help on Arch Street with the removal of that couch. I believe Arch Street, that area, by the train tracks, there was a lot of illegal dumping. Was that one of the areas that we were going to put cameras up?
You remember, if you recall, I sent an email out to all council members asking for your recommendations.
Yeah.
where we put them. So what's happening is the gentleman to my right here, Mr. Hirsch, and I and Charles got together and we're looking at where we want to install them. So was that one of the ones we identified? Yes.
Yeah.
This one there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank
Are
you.
they put up first? Are they all up? Are they?
I have another one to put up, but the truck is down right now, so I'm at mercy of getting to the truck.
Great.
And also, just so you know, council members, we put one up at the ice skating rink, which is a great view of anyone that comes here or is on the ice skating rink. And so that's very visible to us through the camera. Good job on that, Rich. And we also put up exterior lighting where it's well lit now, so that we can also use that for the camera system, making sure we've got a good view.
Sounds good. Nothing else, Mr. Chairman?
That's all.
That's all.
Councilman Maloney?
I do. I just have one. In the last meeting, I was talking about blighted properties, and I know, Mayor, you had asked Maureen about getting some information. Obviously, she's not here today, I don't know if Mr. Henry has anything for me.
I did speak to Maureen, she was going through the code book, which is obviously quite big, and
Okay.
chapter 7 is a big chapter, but to date, she's found nothing that she would recommend be changed or anything like that. She thinks it's, when I spoke to her, it's just a matter of enforcing what's on the books now.
Okay, maybe, again, I'm just getting back to the last meeting. What's going on now, what we're doing now, it's just not working. Do you think maybe we should write some new ordinances, or maybe at least look into writing new ordinances?
I mean, that's up to you
That's
guys.
up to, okay. All right, hopefully, my colleagues would agree with me on that. I think we should just get, more strict with these blighted properties. Not only, obviously, in my area, but throughout the city. Maybe we could take a look at, coming up with some different new ordinances that will help the city as well.
If I can add to
Sure.
that also, we issue a lot of citations. And once the people are cited, then it goes to the magistrate, and then it's up to the magistrate, your offices, to actually schedule them and to have a hearing. So we have several that are just awaiting the magistrate hearings. And then also what happens is during that hearing, a lot of times we send Maureen Collins to those to represent the city. So most we can do is issue a citation. And we've issued a lot of citations. I mean, we've issued a lot of citations just for ice and uncleaned sidewalks recently. I think I reported that last time to you.
25?
So, yes, and we issued some more this week, by the way. So the thing is, we can issue the citations. After that, it's out of our hand. It's up to the magistrates to follow through with the next step, John, just so you understand that.
Okay, thank you.
And if you'd like, I mean, I'm happy to send you a listing of citations that have been issued. But the thing is, we go as far as we can.
Okay.
Okay?
That's all I have, sir.
All you have is, Charlie, you might be aware of this, corner of Melrose and Old River Road, there is water shut off in the ground. I guess when the water broke there by, that building there, they must have used it to shut the water off. When you turn the water back on, it's leaking, it's coming up out of the ground, running down the curb line, freezing up. And it stops right around the riverside and another block down, and it's all frozen there. If we could just make, water company aware.
Sure.
That's all I have. Anything else? Okay, we'll adjourn. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations, so that those that make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom. Paying roll call, please.
Mr. Barrett,
Here.
Mr. Brooks,
Here.
Mr. Marconi,
Here.
Mr. Belishko,
Here.
Mrs. McBride is excused. Also in attendance is Mayor George Brown, Administrator Charlie McCormick, City Attorney Tim Henry, IT Director Frank Hirschberger, and Administrative Assistant Lisa Sanfilippo. Good evening and welcome to the regular session of council. Chairperson is the presiding officer of the meeting. Following are examples of important council rules. They are not intended to be a complete list. Adhere as closely as possible to the 5-minute speaker presentation time limit. All remarks shall be addressed to the council and not to any individual member thereof. The chairperson shall preserve order and decorum, prevent attacks on personalities, and determine all points of order. Finally, in order to be heard by all, when members of the administration are speaking, please stand up and speak into a microphone. Okay, pending legislation.
At this time, you could call in on agenda items only. Agenda items only, the things that we'll be voting on now. Anytime, call the number on your screen.
Hello, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Bob Kalabowski. I'm calling from my truck.
Hi, Bob.
I would like to know, okay, if I cough, I'm sorry, I'm just getting over being sick with COVID. Here's the problem I have. I'd like to talk about what you're going to talk, or what's on the agenda, but how am I supposed to know what's on the agenda when you have the other meeting and it's not on YouTube? I can't watch it. So I think it's a real, you know, how many citizens in the city of Wilkes-Barre do you think that don't have computers? I work, I'm trying to catch up because of being sick, but why can't you put the work session on like you're going to do for the other session? I think it's a real disservice. To me, it's sort of like shady. I don't know what you're trying to hide. And if you aren't, you should put that on so we could watch it. Because right now we're pinned down. We can't come to City Hall. You know what I mean? And not everybody has access to a computer. So I think what you should do from here on out is definitely put the work session on so we could watch it. And I think you'll be
Bob.
going back to
Bob,
having work sessions on Tuesday and then the other meeting on Wednesday. Because if you have it on Tuesday, that way when somebody like me who's working, you know, I could watch it, and then if there's something I should call in about, I could call in about it until we go back to the regular meetings. So I think it's a real disservice that you don't put the work sessions on YouTube.
Bob,
So I guess that I can't ask any answer or ask any questions because I don't know what you're doing.
Bob, the work
So I guess
session.
I'll call back soon. Hello?
Bob. Oh, he hung up. The work session was just broadcast on YouTube, so I don't know if he's talking about when we do it in person, we don't tape the work session, we only do the regular session, but this one was on.
Hello, please state your name and where you're calling from. Hello?
He hung up too. He's calling on. Yeah, he's not calling on this. Move forward with the vote. Ready to vote?
Yeah, I guess, okay. We'll move on.
Okay, we're gonna need a motion and a second on the resolution authorizing the disposition of records from the finance office.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Marconi, second by Mr. Brooks. Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mr. Belishko.
Yes.
And we also need a motion and a second on reappointing Leon Schuster to the zoning hearing board.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Barrett,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Belishko. Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mr. Belishko.
Yes.
Motion and a second on reappointing Frank Majikis and Phil Latinsky to the Police Civil Service Commission.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marconi,
Second.
second by Mr. Barrett. Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mr. Belishko.
Yes.
And appointing, that's Marconi and Barrett. Appointing William Barrett to the Police Civil Service Commission. I need a motion and a
A
second.
motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Belishko, second by Mr. Brooks. Mr. Barrett,
Abstain.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
Mr. Belishko.
Yes.
And we need a motion and a second on the minutes.
A motion.
Mr. Belishko,
Second.
second Mr. Brooks. Mr. Barrett,
Yes.
Mr. Brooks,
Yes.
Mr. Marconi,
Yes.
and Mr. Belishko.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this was Belishko and Brooks. Okay, that,
Council presentation. Anything more, Mr. Councilman Barrett?
Nothing additional, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brooks?
Nothing additional, Mr. Chairman.
John?
Nothing additional, Mr. Chairman.
Myself either. At this time, we'll have public discussion. You could call in on any topic you would like.
Hi, please state your name and where you're calling from.
John Toffey, Wilkes-Barre.
Go ahead, John.
Question, just about the Genetti's where the fire was. Were those, do they count as rental properties? And if so, have they been inspected, like, did they have rental inspections? That's all I have. Thank you.
It's a good question, John. I don't know.
They're not a rental inspection, they are classified as a hotel, commercial operation, so they do not have the rental inspections they have with apartment buildings.
That makes sense.
They are not rental as apartments because they're classified and because of its age as a technical hotel, which is not inspected on a 2-year basis. So you would not have rental inspections for each room.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hi, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Bob Kalabowski, and I'm calling from my truck. Could the mayor hear me?
yes.
Okay. Mayor, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but what we have to do here, I'm going to be asking you after I make my presentation. I mentioned it to you before at the public meetings. We need you to stand up for the taxpayers of this city. And we need you to write to the Auditor General's office, and we need you to write to PFM, as I brought out to you when I informed them of what was going on with this council and the past councils, how they are able to get these outrageous $30,000 a year from Miss McBride and her family. Mr. Marconi, now him and his wife, are tapped onto the insurance, even though she's on workers' comp from the city for how many years? And Mr. Brooks, with his, taking his buyout, and also, Mr. Brooks, if you can hear me, I'd like you to name all the charities that you've given all that money that you got. And Mr. Belushko, as I brought out, you're the most successful businessman in South Wilkes-Barre, but yet we're paying your health care. I think it's very unfair, and I'm not, this is nothing personal against you or anyone else. And Mr. Barrett, you're the senior member of this, and you realize, I believe the figure is $2.5 million that these past council people who went on to be mayor and controller has cost us, from what I understand, almost $2.5 million for a city council person to work part-time, like Mr. Marconi or Miss Gilbert McBride, to get $30,000 a year in health care is outrageous. So Mayor, we need your help. And there is a businessman who said, if you don't help us, who will hire the attorney to do the research. And I understand that there's going to be an open records request put in to find out how's this done. And I brought out at past council meetings that when I went into the girl at HR, and then I went into the guy with the beard, I forget what his name is, Brett, I asked him, I says, how do you figure this out? Nobody knows, but yet they're able to count these part-time years towards full-time pensions. And Mayor, we need your help. People are outraged. That video that I put up, I think, has 6,000 or 7,000 views. They're outraged to think that these council people are getting $30,000 a year, some of them, for their health care, for their families. What is Ms. McBride or Mr. Marconi's wife, like Mr. McBride's family, doing to help the city? And what's Mr. Marconi's wife doing to help the city? Don't forget, your administration took cuts in salary and cut everywhere you could to save the money, and these people are absorbing it. And like I brought out, to give Kathy Payne that $20,000 a year raise was outrageous, maybe $5,000. But this is unbelievable that this is going on. So Mayor, we're asking you, at least I'm asking you on behalf of many taxpayers, please write to PFM and also see what we could do with the Auditor General's office. When I send them certified letters, they won't even respond to me. So I think it's outrageous, it's uncalled for. And also I put out how many people have worked up public works or worked for a city part-time, and for years and years before they got hired, never got an ounce of health care or nothing. But yet we have Ms. McBride, $30,000 a year, Mr. Marconi, $30,000 a year, then we have Mr. Belushko, how much he's getting. It's outrageous, and it has to stop. And Mayor, I'd like an answer from you. Will you help us? Can you help us? And will you help us? So I'd like an answer.
You finished,
Hello?
Bob?
You finished, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Anyone else? If you want
Do you want me to answer that?
to, if you want.
Okay, Bob, first of all, sorry to hear that you're sick with COVID. I hope you're on your way to recovery. From what I'm told through a legal representative is that the only way that these things can be changed is through the state legislature, unless I'm mistaken. So we, the mayor, no one else has the power to do any changes. City council, the state is the one that has the power to do that. It's not, as of right now, it's a choice that everyone has. I have, and every other member that's employed by the city, whether it's in role or not. But it is something that can only be changed through the state legislature. So I hope you
know that.
understand that.
Thanks, Mayor.
Hi, can you state your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, this is Jerry Reisinger calling from Kingston.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I sent information to council. Did they receive it today?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I'd like to discuss the fact that, is there a possibility we could be meeting with the Army Corps and taking a tour of the riverfront in regards to that article that was in the Sunday paper September 6, 2015, where the overgrowth sediment and deposition in the flood channel is raising the risk of flooding. Has there been any meetings or discussions about that? I believe the mayor and DPW, which Friday we're supposed to meet and talk about that.
Dr. Reisinger, when you're finished, we'll respond if we're going to.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know if that meeting took place, number one. Number two, I had a meeting with the mayor of Kingston yesterday and Paul Keating, the administrator, and showed him the problem with the Nesbitt Park situation with the huge trees that have been coming down there, and someone's been in there cutting them up and removing some of it, but a lot of it is being deposited in the so-called natural area of Kirby Park, which is adding to the congestion in that area, along with the new forest that has grown in there over the last 20 years of black locust, where it was an open meadow. And that open meadow design that I sent you today was traditionally the historic landscape design of the riverfront, and which allowed for water flow and was great for natural habitat. And I'm requesting that we meet with the Olmsted Historic landscape firm. You have the letter there, and I think it's very important that we have consulting engineers on this project. Faye Harwell from that firm, also George Albert, who helped put together a restoration plan back in the early 90s for Mayor Namey at the time, and also Bert Occulto, who is engineer who built the levees in Solomon's Creek and also in Kirby Park in the mid-'80s, and he highly recommends that we clean up the flood channels and re-landscape it so that it prevents flooding. Kingston is very worried about the situation at the Market Street Bridge because, as you know, Paul Keating and his group of workers had to reinforce that whole floodgate there for the flood of 2011. Horrible event for him and his crew. They were great heroes to do that. And also the new mayor is very concerned about all the overgrowth at Kirby Park and also from the bridge in the Cross Valley Expressway all the way to the Pierce Street Bridge, which is the west side overflow channel. So the Army Corps has stated this report, and I think it's important that we reach out to them and take a tour of this area and solve the issue. I'd like a comment from the mayor.
You finished, Doctor?
Yep.
Thank you. Anything, Mayor?
Yes, in response to Mr. Reisinger's, there were several meetings held. After the last meeting, I did meet with Butch Frady, but also there was a meeting held yesterday, and I'm going to go over some details of that meeting. Present at the meeting was Chris Bellerman, Executive Director of Luzerne County Flood Protection Authority, Jim Brezina, who is a consultant, but also was the prior Luzerne County engineer during the reconstruction of the levee system, Butch Frady, our Director of Operations, Charles McCormick, our City Administrator, Larry Newman, who's a certified urban planner, Director of Diamond City Partnership, John Mayday, who's the Executive Director of the Riverfront Parks Committee and also a board member, Luzerne County Flood Protection Authority, and Game Warden, Mr. Caprell, who is a Pennsylvania State Game Warden. We discussed the conditions over at the park that Mr. Reisinger identified, and I just want to go over some of the things that were noted in the meeting from the people that were present, but also Mr. Catrone, Vincent Catrone, who's the urban forester, Pennsylvania State University. Also, I'd like to relay some things that he contributed to our discussion. He was not there, but he sent us documentation. First of all, the current growth buffers the levee system and the roots minimize erosion. I'm going to repeat that because it's contrary to what's been said. The current growth buffers the levee system and the roots minimize erosion. Wild habitat for mammals and birds would be in danger by changing their habitat. The Army Corps of Engineers incorporated the nature area into the overall reconstruction plan for the levee system during the $200 million levee raising project. Removing the overgrowth will not solve anything, and it will not improve flood protection, nor will it increase the threat of flooding. Also, the city will continue to clean the pathways, spray for knotweed, and clean trash as needed, as outlined and recommended by Vincent Controne, urban forester, Pennsylvania State University. I physically toured that area with Police Chief Coffey, and we went back further than we've ever been able to go back before because it was opened up, and there was no homeless people there. There was nothing that showed any signs of homeless people. The only thing we saw there was a Native American looking teepee. And I did not remove that because I didn't know whose it was, but that's the only sign of anyone residing over there or being over there. There was 2 piles of trash that we could not remove because of the recent weather, but speaking to Mr. Fratty, those 2 piles will be removed shortly. So the pathway is clearer than it's ever been before. We will maintain the pathway, but council members, the information I got from this panel of experts that we had together yesterday was leave it the way it is, but maintain the pathway. Make sure that we spray the knotweed, but do not remove anything. It's natural. It's a natural forest, and that's their recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hello, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name's Jason Carr. I'm calling from today, Livingston, New Jersey. I would just like to thank the mayor for responding to Mr. Kaldabowski's concerns after his 4th request. I believe actually the mayor's response is disingenuous. It's not up to the state legislature to make changes to the benefits and amounts of money, compensation that this city council receives, but it's actually up to the council people themselves to make that decision. I believe 2 years ago, Mr. Barrett had mentioned offhand during a meeting that he thought it may be time to, review what council is receiving. The amounts of money that are being paid to these council members are enormous. Looking at the numbers, this is the 4th highest paid council in the entire state of Pennsylvania, only behind Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the only city bankrupt in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Harrisburg is number 3, but they're bankrupt. Looking at the numbers, Mr. Marconi receives $27,400 for health insurance. Councilman Belesko receives $11,800. Councilwoman Beth Gilbert receives $29,700, and Councilman Brooks receives a buyout per year, not to receive health care, of $3,600. This is all paid through off the backs of the taxpayers. Many other municipalities receive nothing, or at most $5,000 to $6,000 locally. The only municipality or borough that comes close to the enormous amounts of money that the city of Wilkes-Barre council people receive is the city of Scranton, which are compensated $12,500 with absolutely no health benefits or pension. Along the lines of what Mr. Kaldabowski as well said was, I'm still do not understand how part-time work equates to full-time pensions. And that's something, again, where some type of leadership on council, it may not come from the chairwoman, it may have to come from Mr. Barrett, someone who wants to put forth a good faith effort, a token to the taxpayers, to the people who are struggling right now through this pandemic, to say enough is enough, and let's take a serious look at what we can give back, like the mayor has. You know, the mayor gave up a salary or a reduction of about $25,000, which is much appreciated. But I think it's time that city council take it seriously. Many people are watching. As well, another great point that Mr. Kaldabowski made was that thousands and thousands of people within the city do not have computers. So this is the only municipality in Luzerne County who is not having in-person meetings right now. I love it, I enjoy it, I'm able to travel and participate, so I think it's great. But for the people that do not have computers, they have no ability to participate in the meetings because there is no phone access to listen to the meetings. You can only call in and participate when prompted. So if someone could answer that, Mr. Bolesko, Council Chairman Bolesko could answer that. How are you not allowing all the people within the city of Wilkes-Barre that do not have access to a computer not being able to participate in this meeting tonight? There are thousands, and it's a real shame. And it's really a Sunshine Law Act violation, unless you're going to let them in the door. So something has to change drastically, hopefully for the next meeting. I hope you take these suggestions seriously. And I would just also like to say, I don't know how much time I have left, but the conditions of the roads are deplorable. It's not good. It's not a good situation. It needs to be focused on. Thank you.
Mr. Carr, you don't need a computer to watch our council meetings. You could just use your cell phone. You can watch it right on your cell phone.
Hi, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Don Del Castro, Miners Mills.
Okay, go ahead.
Last week, I was down City Hall to pay my bills. And at the North Washington Street cutout, which is designated with 2 signs there, handicapped only parking, and every vehicle that was in there did not have a license plate or a placard stating that they were handicapped. And luckily, a Wilkes-Barre police officer was coming down, and I asked him, "Sir, can you please help me? I'm handicapped, and this is designated for handicapped parking," and his response totally shocked me. "I'm sorry, sir, but due to construction, there's nothing I can do." But yet, today, over the air, I heard it, somebody parked in the lot that was designated for employees, and here we go, it was towed. I would like to know who gave this authorization and why, that anybody could park there. Then why have the signs there, for that matter? Because the day before, I had a stress test. I had to park over by the police station and walk around all the way to the front to walk in to pay my bills. I don't understand this one bit. I mean, it's totally uncalled for. They're there for a reason. Enforce them. I understand other people have to do business, but I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. So that's all I have for now.
Mayor?
Is Don still on? No. Okay. Don, yeah, sorry to hear about your recent situation. We had a meeting today and with my staff, and we are identifying additional parking spots that city employees can utilize, hopefully free up some spots in the parking lot, also for handicapped parking. And Donna, I did receive your message, and thanks for passing that on. I appreciate it. So we did identify several spots that we're going to be making signs up for, and I'm hoping that'll be, not sure if it'll be done this week or not, but we'll make the signs up and we'll identify additional parking spots. It's a problem until we get the elevator functional. We're hoping around May, June timeframe, the elevator will be complete. We can see how that's going to affect additional parking. It's just something we're living with right now. So I'm sorry, folks, bear with us, and we're going to, like I said, work on identifying additional spots to park.
It's unfortunate, but it's needed, and it'll rectify itself.
And Don, just so you know, we'll monitor the outside side handicap parking spots to make sure only handicapped people are parking there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hi, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Jerry Reisinger calling back again. I'd like to
Sir.
make one more comment in regards to what the mayor said.
Sir, you already called in once. I'm sorry, I can't allow you again.
Hi, please state your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, Nicholas Wattis from Kingston.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, the reason for my call is just in regards to the overall condition of Kirby Park. Personally, as like a community member and as a person who loves to exercise, I feel like that it's such a great area, and I feel like that if there's, it's kind of more like a question, is there been any kind of thought of putting some funding into Kirby to kind of spruce it up, give it a facelift? I mean, they have the running area, the paths, the fields, the softball areas. Just kind of like a question, just a friendly question, just to see if there's any discussion about that at all.
Mayor?
Yes, yes, sir, there is several initiatives that we're looking at for Kirby Park. We have 2 people identified that work there on a daily basis, but I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact that we're building a special needs playground area over there at the tune of about $500,000, which is all being paid for by voluntary donations. We raised $520,000 in roughly 6 months. We'll be ordering the equipment this month. Looks like it will be installed and ready to go by August. So that's the first thing that we're doing. We also, if you've been over there at all, you'll see that we added several paved concrete pathways that were not there before. If you walk on the tarmac area, you'll see that all 3 baseball fields have a brand new concrete walkway. We have walkways to the 3 pavilions. We're putting a walkway from the main pavilion, March Pavilion, over to the pond. That will go probably a third of the way around the pond, maybe a little bit less, and it'll actually have a place that people can sit there and enjoy, especially people in wheelchairs. The last thing that we're looking at doing is redoing the road coming in from Market Street. And what I mean by that is if you go in there now, you'll see several large bumps that are the size of council's desks. We're going to redo that road coming in. We're going to make it more handicap accessible, but also make it a smoother road. We're also going to be making some modifications to the main parking lot, where it'll be repaved and it will be more identified also for ADA compliance. That's going to be part of the project also. And we'll be updating the restroom facilities at the park, updating them, making them more ADA compliant, and actually adding an additional ADA compliant bathroom facility over there. So you'll see that there's an awful lot of investment going into Kirby Park. Half of that, if not more, is being done through, as I said, voluntary contributions. The rest will be done through grants that we've secured through OCD and other grants. So a lot of investment, money-wise, but also that park's going to be changing, and it's a beautiful park now, in my opinion. It's going to be even more beautiful, and there's other things that we're looking at doing with upgrading some other parts of the park, but that's not finalized yet, so I can't give you that final determination, but there's other areas over there. When we're done, that park's going to be just amazing. I think it's beautiful now, but it's going to be even more adaptable to people, and it's going to be great. People use it all the time. They use the football field. They use the track over there, the tennis courts and other things. So we'll be doing a lot in that park area to upgrade it and make it better. So yes, sir, to answer your question, a sizable monetary investment will be going into the park.
Thank you, Mayor.
state your name and where you're calling from?
Jim Burden, Wilkes-Barre.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah. Yes, I'm calling in reference to that ice rink that's a white elephant down there on Public Square. I drove by there 5, 6 times, and I have not seen one person in that ice rink yet. Why didn't we waste the money on a swimming pool instead for people in the summertime where they can go swimming? You know, at least you would have got some use out of a swimming pool instead of that ice rink. There's nobody using that thing.
Thank you,
How
Jim.
much money was spent on that ice rink?
When you're finished, Mr. Burden, when you're finished, we'll answer your questions.
Okay, and down around Cole Street Park, there's a bunch of potholes around there, and down around Casey Park. If you could show some attention to that, and right at the front end of Taft Street, I'd appreciate it. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Burden. Mayor?
Thank you. Jim, glad to see you're back in the area again. Anyway, the ice rink is being utilized. I went by today and I saw people using it yesterday. I saw people using it, and actually it was just opened up on Saturday at noon. The issue is that people have to have their own ice skates to skate there. Next year we will be offering ice skate rentals, but we wanted to get it open at least for a month or two this year because we did have it and we want to install it so at least some people can use it. So we have been seeing people use it. It does shut down at dusk like every other park in the city. You can't use it after dusk. So during the daytime, it really depends, I guess, when you're going there. Some people have been using it when they get out of work when it's still light out. But like I said, I have seen people use it, and it's an investment. It's an investment for the city because the children, if you saw the children that were using that on Saturday, many of our council members were there on Saturday, and Lisa, the kids really enjoyed it. And also it's going to be something that families are going to be able to build memories from. So I think the investment was worthwhile. I could not build a swimming pool for the amount of money that we paid for this ice rink. I couldn't even build a wading pool for that amount of money. So this is something that is synthetic ice. It'll be taken down the end of March. We are actually putting out sponsorships. If people want to put their business names on it, they will purchase a large 40 by 88 inch board, and it will be installed, which will help defray the cost of the rink. Also, the rink is synthetic, so it can be taken down and put up at any time. Our idea is to take it down the end of March and also put it back up around October of this year. So it is going to be quite nice around Christmas time this year. People will be able to use that. Secondly, potholes are a concern throughout the city. Problem is, all we can do now is do this soft patch, which is not really holding once you, as you guys know, it freezes, and then the ice gets in there and it lifts up, and then we plow the roads. And as we get people calling in with areas, we try to put soft patch down. I'll give you an example. Laird Street was called in to me, other areas like that. So Wood Street. But most of these are pave cuts, okay, and they're not repaired properly, and then what happens is it comes up in the bad weather. So we're identifying a way to sit with the utility companies and identify a better way of patching, but also maybe do a permanent patching process. We're looking at that right now. We know that the roads are not good, but every winter it's the same thing. It's been that way for several years. But I think one of the keys is on pave cuts, utility companies do a better job on pave cuts. But we are putting soft patch. And Jim, we'll make sure that we identify the areas up by Cole Street that you mentioned tonight. I think I answered everything.
Yep, thank you, Mayor.
Hi, this is Stephen Karski from the Citizens Voice. I was wondering if the mayor could provide a little more detail on the police department hires he expects, if there are currently 8 openings or vacancies on the department, or if some of those are expected to come up in the future as retirements. If so, how many retirements versus other kinds of separations, such as resignations? And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yeah, hi, Steve, I hope you're well. We have some retirements that we're replacing, we have some others that are gonna be future retirements. Whenever we have people leave, most of the time it's through retirement, okay, and we've had several. So, as I said before, I promised to make sure that our police force is fully staffed. There will be no defunding the police under my mayorship. They'll get the staffing they need, they'll get the training, and all the materials that they need as far as equipment and so forth. So Steve, if you'd like, I can send you that information tomorrow. I don't have it in front of me. I sat down with Police Chief Coffey today, went over what his needs are. We identified 8, possibly more. I don't know what future retirements will be coming up, but the key here is that we have to give another test. And with that test, we'll have the amount of people that we need to pull from for interviews and making the selection process go forward. So as far as the number that have retired so far this year, Steve, I can get that for you tomorrow if you'd like. I'll be happy to send it to you. But I don't have it in front of me right now. But I did want to give you an idea of roughly how many people we see hiring, in over this coming year for the police department. There are some people that will be retiring in a few months. Some people have just retired recently. That's the best answer I can give.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, if you want to read it. Kathy, you want to read the email that was sent?
Sure. We received one email today from Sam Troy. It says, so far, the way the mayor has handled the distribution of the COVID relief money is deplorable. Am I correct in assuming that he has allowed all of the agencies and nonprofits handling this money to take 10% for administrative costs? If so, this is far too generous. This will probably allow such agencies as the United Way and the CEO to supplement already high salaries. Meanwhile, the mayor is allowing a paltry $300 for certain taxpayers who meet financial criteria. What about the people who run these organizations? Gene Brady and Bill Jones already earn at least $200,000 to $400,000 a year. Who is to say that they are not going to give themselves raises as a result of this ARP money that the mayor is being so generous with? How are we going to ensure that this money will be handed out fairly and equitably? This once again proves that this mayor has little or no empathy for the average taxpayer, resident of our city, but instead cannot do enough for special interests. This is shameful in my view. Also, what about the money that the mayor handed out to various restaurants and bars in the city last year? This was supposed to be a loan, but instead the mayor forgave this loan. This is outrageous. I'm asking the mayor now to compensate, to some small extent, for the suffering that people have endured during this pandemic, financial or otherwise, by allowing extra time this year for property tax payments and to give an extra 1% discount to those who pay by the due date. I don't think this is asking too much in light of the fact that the mayor increased our sewer and garbage fees last year without any qualms while refusing to give us any property tax relief. I was told by Tim Henry that this kind of thing would be somewhat difficult to achieve, but it can be done and council has the power to do it as well. So I'm asking you 5 to step forward and do something for us, the people who have suffered the most during the pandemic. I am tired of hearing rationalizations on the part of the administration. The ARP money may not be able to be used for tax relief directly, but the money saved as a result of using it in other parts of the budget can be set aside for some sort of tax relief. Let's try for a change to make our city government work for all the people, especially the taxpayers, instead of just the unions, the employees, elected officials, nonprofits, including the 2 colleges in our city, and other special interests such as George Albert.
Mayor, would you like to address that?
Yeah, I sure would. Sam, I don't know where you're getting your information from or who's feeding you this information, but some of it's incorrect. First of all, saying that I've not allowed American Recovery Plan money to go back to people that are needy. We allocated $7.1 million to go back to the residents and businesses of the city of Wilkes-Barre. $300 stimulus checks equated to $3.5 million. So to say that I've not allocated money to go back to the residents of Wilkes-Barre that were needy, that's not true. $3.5 million. I don't know any other municipality that's done that. Also, the amount of money that United Way, Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce, CEO received is in the guidelines of the American Recovery Plan. That's not something I made up and gave it to them because I'm a genuine person. It's part of the American Recovery Plan guidelines, once again. Thirdly, the monies that we put together in this $7.1 million plan is not just $300 stimulus checks. And by the way, Sam, I've received several letters, emails, phone calls from people that thanked us for the $300. I don't know if you received it or not, but anyway, a lot of people have thanked us. We've also put money into a plan that if people want to remodel their homes, they'll get up to $7,500 to do remodeling that they could not do if they were not given this up to $7,500. So people are aggressively applying for that money. People that want to purchase a primary residence in the city of Wilkes-Barre, we're giving them money that's going to help them with their closing costs and down payments. People that could not afford to buy a house in the city of Wilkes-Barre now are getting help with their down payment and closing costs. As you know, we reduced the garbage bag fees by $3 a pack, and as you know, we reduced the parking meters by $1 an hour, all for the benefit of the residents of the city of Wilkes-Barre. I certainly am not benefiting in any way, nor I don't know of any other elected official, as you said, that's benefiting in any way by this program. People that are benefiting are the people of the city of Wilkes-Barre. And I'm very happy that council went along with my program to donate part of that American Recovery Plan money to the 9-point plan that we put together and allow $7.1 million to get back to the people. I'm proud of this plan. I think that many people benefit. You may not benefit, Sam, and I don't know what your financial situation is, and that's not really my business, but a lot of people have benefited and are benefiting by this. One other thing, we allocated almost $1 million for the human service agencies that serve the people of the city of Wilkes-Barre, people that are homeless, people that need some type of service. It may be medical, it may be psychological, it may be housing, other things. We allocated almost $1 million to those service agencies. Sam, these are the people you talk about that need help. They are getting help. And your recent Genetti situation, fire, I mean, these agencies received almost $1 million right before that happened. So I'm glad that that's going to be able to help those agencies to help people. So Sam, as I said, your statements are, in my opinion, not something that I think is factual. And by everything I just said to the council tonight, I think it proves that we've given a lot back to the residents of the city of Wilkes-Barre. And by the way, the things that we did was things that we heard from a lot of council members. How do you help these people with the $700 income? How do you help these people that are on low income? How do you help someone to remodel their home when they don't have the money? This is what we did. Mike, I know I'm long-winded, but this is something that I just believe in thoroughly, that what we did was a big help to the residents or future business owners. You want to come to the city of Wilkes-Barre and open up a business, we're going to help you with your closing costs. Your startup costs, to open up a business. Help you with startup money. Help you pay your rent so that they'll locate new businesses. And by the way, speaking with Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce, we've had a large amount of people that are going to be utilizing that. So I'm very proud of the 9-point plan we put together, and I'm very happy that you had faith in that plan and allowed me to go forward with that.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? No. Okay, motion to adjourn?